just like dominating. So I think that we'll see more of them on the screen. Put them on the screen, broadcast, all right? So we need to see more power, all right?
You guys hear that behind the scenes? We want to see more of them. I want to see these guys popping off, and also I want to see more of the games. Just want to give a big thank you to you, of course, Luz, for joining us here on the interview. Got any final words to say to the fans at home, to all the people in the arena as well?
Thanks everyone for watching. This performance is amazing. Thanks, Fortnite.
Back to the desk.
Hey, Loser Food, thank you. Thank you for being here as the only icon represented that's not playing. Thank you. Where are your other icons at? Anyway, guys, in case you didn't know, Double XP is happening this weekend in celebration of the Global Championship. Jump in. There's a bunch of stuff happening. VR, Grapple Glove, and the Pump Shotgun coming back. Reload's got 100% rare chest spawns with some other unvaultings happening. And then finally, Blitz has melee fitness when you drop off the Battle Bus. Jump in right now. Double XP. Don't miss out. Make sure you take advantage of that. Now, of course, as we continue the conversation, the players continue to kind of roll back in. We're getting closer. I kind of caught a moment there. Talking right there, Swizzy Merch Stats are kind of still strategizing. They're taking every single moment possible to make sure they are ready to come back for Game Number 4 even stronger.
Well, this is where things start to get interesting, in my opinion, because like you already mentioned, right, the break has happened. And the fact that 2 dominant performances have happened, I'm going to be looking forward to these next 3 games because now Queasy versus Swizzy, they might be getting even more respect to this. Everybody might be looking at the high situation and be like, yeah, we've got no chance if we actually go for it. Let's just give them full respect, which would kind of open the door even more. Even though it already looks open for Queasy versus Swizzy, it might open it up even more. But now the opportunity as well for some of the other teams to maybe kind of counter-strat some of the things that may be going on in the early game. Obviously, there's a couple teams that we think could be doing better right now, and hopefully this little bit of a break gives them just that opportunity to go ahead and figure something out.
I mean, when there's a team that just dominates high ground so well, a lot of the other teams will kind of build this little bunker over themselves in low and middle and kind of, you know, refute eliminations from them. But Queasy, Mersash, and Swizzy aren't allowing that to happen. They are making sure that they are not controlling high ground passively, which we've seen teams do in the past. They are making sure that they are chopping out all the roofs, making sure that they're still getting eliminations, and that is what makes them so dangerous. We see teams go for height and get that consistency, but rarely do we see that in tandem of also having the most amount of eliminations in a game.
I kind of want to flip the script here a little bit, right? Obviously, we're talking about Queasy kind of in that #1 spot. There's a couple other trios, namely Peterbot, Ritual Cold, right? Pollo, Acorn, Agers. What's going on? It seems like this trio, these trios we know should be performing well, right? I kind of made a joke at one point last game. I was like, oh, it's interesting, like, Peterbot, Ritual Cold are 31st. You're like, that's interesting. That's how many eliminations they should have at this point. But that's not the case. What do we think is happening here?
Well, obviously, I think games #1 and 2 were kind of like feelers. They were kind of trying to see what they can actually do with their drop spot kind of situation that they have going on. And then games #3, we kind of tune in with them. They pushed into Dystopia City pretty early on. And then I was like, whoa, their map situation looks very, very good. They've got a pretty clean loadout. I just don't think they really know where to go from there. Like, it doesn't really seem like they have a full laid out plan, which is why, you know, looking at this break right now, hopefully the coach kind of comes in and talks to them and is like, hey, listen, this is what you guys need to do after you kind of get an established loadout and the materials needed.
You know, there's a word that we like to use in North America when we describe Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, and even Acorn, Agers, and Pollo, and that is condition. They condition the lobby, but that lobby that they condition is just North American Central. There is a very specific strategy that we see time and time again that these players get to practice over weeks and kind of build up that one meta, and then they are conditioning the lobby to kind of play around them. Well, they have 7 other regions now. They have Europe to contend with, so that strategy that they have conditioned the rest of North America doesn't really matter now. So I think that they're kind of being thrown for a loop. That respect that so many other teams give them in North America isn't necessarily seen here today.
Yeah, there is that meta within the meta, right? And it kind of, we usually talk about that around these times, right? On LAN, when players have kind of time to come together, meet each other, say what's up, and then practice, right? And I love that you call that out, Kelly, because that I didn't even consider that even for a moment, but that's so true, right? Everyone else is going, oh, here we go, finals, Pollo, Peterbot, running around doing their thing. Got to make sure we respect them. Everyone else is like, hey, no, this is a global stage. Like, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to walk away at the end of this as a global champion. How different things are here in a LAN setting.
Yeah, 100% right. That could be playing a factor, right? Obviously, we've kind of talked about the situation between Cold Ritual and Peterbot, switching the focus over to Acorn, Pollo, and Agers. They've got, like, it's like an easy task but a hard task at the same time. They know kind of what's going wrong. It's Storm Surge, right? But Storm Surge is one of those mechanics in Fortnite competitive that's pretty much the hardest thing to kind of figure out for any one of these teams, right? They know what they need to work on, but it's like, man, how do they?
And you know, we were talking about the start of the show, especially Miniminer was pointing out how Queasy on the northwest side will build up that pillar, or will build up Storm Surge on top of that pillar, and then we actually saw it in game number 3. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo doing the exact same thing. But then if you look at that drop map, there is not that many teams that are landing near them, and a lot of the teams that are landing to the west of them are fighting each other. So there just isn't the same opportunity that someone like Queasy, who has a similar starting strategy, is able to pull off that they aren't.
That is so cool and crazy at the same time, right? These almost like micro strategies these players are trying to utilize. Now, of course, both of these trios are world class, right? I'm not worried, but at this point in the competition, we only have 3 games left to go, right? And the idea is we set ourselves up with this first 6 games, then day number 2, we only have 6 games, right, to try and make a fight for that number 1 spot. So for both of these trios, I kind of want to see, like, we need to get into this. We need to make some moves right here, right now. But with that being said, it's almost that time to hop back into all of the action. We want to toss it on over to the casters to say what's up before we get things started.
Appreciate it so much. It has been a phenomenal time frame so far here today, Jacob. But Leon, je t'aime, because you guys are putting on such a strong crowd performance too. The way you guys are gassing up these players, Jacob, it's so awesome to see.
Honestly, coming into this venue, I was kind of like, oh man, what's going to happen today? How's the atmosphere? You could hear them 2 hours before the event even started. I had to go in the middle of that crowd and get a video of my own, but the hype is real and the game is ready. Let's get right into it.
And we're back. One more battle bus ride taking us in to game number 4 here, Jacob. But the important steps are starting to be made. The players have had a slight opportunity now, revitalize themselves, see if these strategies, revisit some of those strategies even for a good portion of our teams realistically. But for Doxy and Tayson, this has been the early game theme so far here today, because these guys have just been clashing nonstop. But we saw that Brazil interference take place in the last lobby, so both these teams know they have got to be even faster with this outcome. It is all or nothing, because if Brazil continues to intervene, they're just not going to be able to build back up from Rangers' ruin.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one, but it was 2 different teams, but the drop remains the same. The 50-50 on one of the chests. For Doxy's, you're going to have to disengage or try to find some floor loot elsewhere. Chicho was taking a good brunt of that damage, but it's Pablo who does get dropped first. Chicho as well. And this is a good opportunity as Chino and for Doxy are in a 2v2 situation. They're trying to close the gap, but for Doxy goes down. Tayson, the 5-time champion, is going to fall as well. Now Chino's in a peculiar situation as he gets eliminated in the 1v1 against Riss.
It's a tough break there for Doxy's team, but hey, Triss, what a come up. Chicho and Tayson are both very likely going to be revived, but they got to be very quick because still other action across the map. Benno, Vico in a very tough position, but Yuma, he's not going to be able to escape. Benno finds the knock, finds the full elimination here, taking full advantage of that siphon, but he still has Rise up above. Benno trying to be very wary here. If he goes down, that is the end of it for game 4, and they still want to be able to strike inside that top 10 for the leaderboard, but Benno wrapping around underneath Rise, even though he's overhead, Benno has the shield HP advantage. Benno still breaking through, doesn't get the shot that he wanted to, but Rise taking a huge chunk of his HP now. Coyota still seeing if he can apply a little bit of pressure on the backup section, but Benno, even in the 1 versus 2, he refuses to budge. That is aura.
Oh, he finally gets the knock on Rise, and that was huge. That was 200 IQ coming out of Benno, because Vico was down. Coyota went down to finish off that elimination, which gave him a huge 1v1, and with a third party coming in, Alex and On and Rise have had enough, as Vino's going to be the one that cleans up that elimination. But what do you do from here? You do have the chance to get the reboot cards, but your POI has now just went to someone else.
The problem and the red alert there is that everybody knows that it's just Benno by himself. That reboot is going to be tough to make it towards, but Ginzada, Scarpa away, already tangled up here. Snowy on the loose, trying to get the runaround, but completely caught off guard. Ginzada, nice knock. Transitioning into the elimination here, Way, Scarpa, Ginzada. They're now in the driver's seat, and Ryu, Sod, potentially heading for the hills instead. No, they're willing to clash head on. They still don't want to depart.
We're getting 4 times the point in that last game, but for Ryu and Sod, they got to really try to figure out a way to win this fight or get the reboot card and disengage. 80 points, they're on their way up that leaderboard. For Way, Scarpa, and Ginzada, this is almost a must. They've been landing all around the map throughout the earlier games so far. Last one, you saw them lurk up on over to Ranger's Ruin, but they just haven't really defined that success. And this is a great opportunity with a mismatch and a numbers advantage to try to pick up these 2 more eliminations. And most important, the loot and the position to build those surge towers.
But Way, Scarpa, Ginzada, they're still not done with this just yet. Sod and Ryu are causing enough of a delay, and if both of these teams aren't careful, a third party could definitely enter the mix. They've got to find these quicker eliminations here. Sod, though, having a very tough time. The material count's running so incredibly low. Nobody's really had a chance to recuperate anything just yet, but Way, Scarpa, Ginzada now approaching from a separate angle. Sod completely pinpoint isolated. He can't get the backup he needs. Way just continuing to close in here. Scouting out. Okay, Sod overhead. No, it's just Ryu instead. Sod taken out. Ryu nearly out of this one, but just doing his best, and it's just not good enough when you're dealing with the full trio of Way, Scarpa, and Ginzada.
Yeah, with those eliminations, you see the rank upgrade drops coming in. It's not going to be the biggest difference maker, but it's definitely a good more loot than what they had before. Dystopia City, Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, they've had enough of playing the drop spot roulettes. They knew coming into this event it was a triple contested fight, and now they're taking the fight to Tay-Tay. This one's personal as Ritual gets the first knock. There's back-to-back. Cold's putting in some work as well. 2 or 3v1 situation here on the Rhino, but it's not going to last too long. They have finally woken up. Enough poking the beast because now they got what they wanted.
I mean, you're talking about poking the bear, and take a look at what Benno's managed to do in some of that downtime since he found those early 3 eliminations against Coyote's team. Flixie, Vico, now back up and in the running here. This is a real opportunity, Jacob, because they've got a couple of other teams that might be a little bit too prioritized with each other, a little bit too fixated elsewhere to scout these guys out inside the tunnel way.
Yeah, I was looking at the mini-map right now. I saw another team potentially rotating in this direction, but it was outside of the mountain range instead of in. So not too risky just yet, as Muzz, you see just a huge chunk of HP missing, along with Sphinx. And to start the game off, I did see Muzz get at least 1 knock. The drop spot for that team on the other side was just too far, giving them that advantage. And that's just kind of that early surge, and that's early confidence building for a team like that.
The real unsung hero, though, for Queasy this weekend so far, Jacob, has just been the fact that he's uncontested. If this is what an uncon Queasy can look like on a global stage, then I cannot wait to see exactly how the entirety of this weekend plays out, but don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Reasons, Alex, Anon, just taking a more slow and steady approach. Oceania has had its fair share of struggles throughout the course of today's matches, and for good reason. It's just very difficult when you are stuck in between some of these teams that are just these pre-established surge bases. It can be very hard to cut through, work around, and they're dropping so far south of the map, Jacob. They just don't have as much resources.
Yeah, definitely kind of changing things up for this game. They knew coming into this with the drop spot they had, the hardest part wasn't necessarily loot, not even materials. It was getting up and over that mountain to try to get in a good position for the game. It's called Ritual and Peterbot. You see them sneaking up, using the bush, the Flowberry Fizz, and the Crash Pad. That's Pixdarm and Demas on the other side. The Revive is fresh. 2 of them are weak, and that's going to be easy pickings if they can continue to put this pressure down. Cold trying to be the first one in. Demas the one that's getting angled out and pressured by 2 different players. Ritual's going to be there on the other side, but a surprise attack, a big shot. That's going to slow things down for only a short moment. Because Cold, he's realizing the bait and switch. My teammate is weak. I have to continue to put pressure out. It doesn't matter who it is. I have to keep these guys on their toes.
Cold and Peterbot are playing like they just see red right now. All they want to do is jump into somebody else's box that's not their own. But Peterbot, he's going to be forced to take a halt. He knows that he has to try and fight this team underneath them or just leave entirely. Demas, Darm, and Pix, they've done enough. They have pushed back, and Peterbot is pushed out of the location.
Kind of get a little bit confident there for Cold, Ritual, and Pete as they continue to kind of rotate on out. Surprisingly enough, they didn't kind of continue to stay over towards Dystopia, but what they left it, Baka, Pars, and Pump actually moved in. They're at a contested drop for themselves, north side of this actual POI, so they're just trying to get scraps. They're just trying to get any bit of surge, and right now, they spotted Cold and his entire trio rotate back towards Dystopia, and they're just trying to lurk. They're trying to get the heads-up play and an opening damage shot so that maybe they can finish it up.
Take a little peeksies, though, at what's breaking down the Kanata Rapid and Bolts. The elimination feed might be telling an entirely different story there, though, for what's shaping up here at Dystopia. Pump, Pars, Baka finding that elimination onto Peter by now means that they are all good to go for trying to key in onto Ritual and Cold. Pars already overhead. Baka right next to him. Pump, separate angle as well. There's just so many flank attempts here, but Cold, Peter knows that he's got to depend on his other fragger here, and Cold could come up big time.
Hey, before Peterbot went on this huge tear for the scene, it was Cold everyone was worried about. And I remember back at the Invitational 1v2 to get his teammate back into the game and try to get them that good positioning that they had. Baka, Pars, and Pump. I do like this right now. They're kind of testing the outskirts. They're not taking that big risk scenario of moving in towards these buildings. They know they're lurking around. They know with the double pump, 2v1 situation, they can easily try to catch any bit of this damage. So for Cold and Ritual, they just got to continue to play sneaky. One has a med kit. So Taco, this is not the last we've seen of them.
Yeah, but the problem still remains, Jacob. They're going to have to deal with Baka, Pars, and Pump, who are very likely, they look as if they're keen, set on setting up to prevent Cold and Ritual from actually leaving Dystopia. And if Cold and Ritual attempt to make a reboot inside of Dystopia, they are going to be immediately pounced upon by Baka, Pars, and Pump. They have so many medkits, they can afford to stick around in these early zone ticks.
And you can see in the top 5, obviously Queasy's team pulling far ahead, but only 133 points to get into the top 5. 1 point behind is going to be Yamzo, Clicks, and Higgs, who've honestly been playing decently well, but they just haven't caught that stride, that momentum shift that we know a team like this can have, especially with Clicks and Higgs from Xset. They're kind of the fraggers, the duo from this team. And then you got Yamzo, the IGL, the mastermind of this squad. And I think as soon as they start to feel that confidence, it's going to be a huge momentum shift.
But you know what? You got to give Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo their flowers, because most people on socials did not have them anywhere near this spot on the leaderboard. They've been holding their own as Panzer, big shot onto Mansour. That's going to be a huge opening now, and Yapko seemingly energized by that, just following it up. Panzer with a third elimination now onto Belor. They are getting active so early on.
Yeah, 6 eliminations. They play against Tinka as his trio off spawn, and it does look like somebody tried to rotate in and potentially steal some loot, but they made them pay rather quickly. Instead, his former teammate, Cammy, Hottie, and iDrop over from that Shining Span bridge. They're trying to focus on getting as much Storm Surge as possible, which is why you see them so deep, so far into the zone. But with every team rotating on out, they're going to use that as their cue to make their rotation as well, and just kind of minimizes a little bit of the risk of the teams they will actually run into and the danger they'll face.
Checking back in now, though, with Chap, Mr. Savage, and Reason. These guys have really just been sticking to their own game plan, and a lot of that entails spending some additional time inside of those early storm takes. They know that they don't have anybody contesting them, and kind of surprised, Jacob, that no one has decided to try and actually challenge Mr. Savage's team in that northwest position, but they've done an excellent job at just creating so much space and playing their search trades where necessary.
Yeah, you see, it's a whole different ball game when you are uncontested. Vanya, Pixie, Marius, they're trying to continue to find their stride, just like some of these other teams in this lobby. 110 points, definitely above most of the lobby, but not where they had hoped to be at this point in time. Pings, Malabuka, and Walk, probably the same thing could be said for them. Rotating from that uncontested outpost over towards Foxy Floodgates. But even though they're not in zone just yet, Taco, you're seeing they're running into so many other trios. Baka's team, Pigstorm, and Demus as well. And even if they find a way to get to the other side, there's a 4-team on the mountain looking in this direction.
But the real problem that I'm recognizing right now, Jacob, is that you've got several of some real heavy hitter trios surrounding Foxy Floodgate, and I'm thinking about Cold, Ritual, Peterbot way back over towards Dystopia. They're going to have to eventually break through these teams who are already fixated in much better positions.
It's going to be tough on that side of the map, but taking a little bit look closer towards the center. There's a little bit more flexibility around, just a whole different game here. There are a couple teams into the mix, but you're seeing no one in relatively close danger. King Phaser, P8 Zin, they have their surge base. You see not too far off, Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. They're going to be able to get a little bit of that hive spot because you see Mustache, Queasy, and Swizzy rotating yet again to one of these bunkers. And the interesting thing about this team is because they do get the hive, because they are uncontested, and you look at the Demon's Debris and the Dystopia where it doesn't necessarily spawn there, Ranger's Ruin too far away. I mean, it's so early on in the game, but they're rotating all the way to the eastern side of the map to get these bunkers that they know no one else can get. And this is the 5-head type play that's coming out of Queasy, and it almost makes you wonder if he wins here to this weekend, is he #1 in the all-time list?
Undisputed GOAT of IGLing without a singular doubt in my mind, Jacob. He's already considered one of the best, if not the best, IGL in the world based off his past couple of years with Global's performances. And it's just impeccable to think of what they've been able to accomplish here today, because sure, you can be first on the leaderboard, but to go back-to-back with victory royales, that's a different beast entirely. And it's going to be very difficult for anybody else to play catch-up. You have to remember, there were teams in this same position. Queasy was in this position. He was the one down below, but can't finish that thought just yet. Striker, Tisco holding their own here. Art, School, Southco, they need a little bit of a recovery point, a little bit pinched here at Sakura Stadium, just so far west of the map. They know it's only a matter of time before a third party makes the intervention here, but Art, School, Southco, they've got one knock. Striker, just seeing if he can try hold the wall, but he's not going to be able to break away. Art just relentlessly chasing him down, and sure enough, it's going to be 4 eliminations now in total for School, Southco, and Arc.
Hey, they're sticking to the game plan, but the game plan has now have a wrench into the mix. Veno, Vico, Flixie, they're making their way on over. This could be 2 of the most aggressive teams in their respective region going head-to-head. But Vino, he makes the call, maybe a little bit too close for comfort. They try to disengage just a little bit, but you see, they didn't take the full distance onto that crash pad. They have some materials they want to get back, but they want to control the pace of them and that team of Arc School and Southco.
I mean, the ball's in their court. Vico, Veno, Flixie, they're just going to continue to play for positioning. They know that Arch Trio is still locked in at Sakura Stadium, so they can afford to just kind of take those peek backs, see if they can keep applying tag pressure, but they are still trying to be wary of that team up on height on the mountainside peak. Payson, definitely a massive threat if they are not careful, but Pollo, Agers, Acorn, finally witnessing them be above that third threshold, and not just that, but 1,400 plus above, Jacob. It's got to be such a huge relief.
Yeah, to start the day, this is honestly the position I thought I would see this team in game after game after game, especially in Game 3, where the zone favored over towards their drop spot. They were just unable to convert and really make it work, and you see the leaderboard with 51 points. They find themselves in 23rd place. I think you could have quizzed anybody in the Fortnite community, and they thought that would have been impossible, but Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual probably in the same spot, only 77 damage above the threshold, and it looks like they're going to try to take the fight to Baka, Pars, and Puff. Remember, this is the team that initially got that knock onto Peterbot, probably causing this downward spiral of the Storm Surge being a worry, but they're taking it personal, box to box. They're ready to go in, and this is the style of fighting that we know Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual look for, but he takes another massive shot. I don't know what Pump and Baka ate today, but they are ready to play.
The problem is nobody is backing down from Ritual, Cold, or Peterbot. Baka, Pars, and Pump have them fully squeezed inside of this tiny little crevice, and if that wasn't bad enough, they're also having to deal with a third party up on the high ground. Cold, Ritual, Peterbot, they're doing everything they can to try and buy themselves a little bit more time, but they know the clock is working against them. They're only just short of 200 above that damage threshold, Jacob, but they need more, and they need builds. They don't have any materials. It's all on cold. Peterbot is just left in tatters because of that start.
Yeah, it's just a tough situation to be in because it's almost playing that mind game, the tricks of, hey, maybe I do have to fight. I need a refresh. I will not be able to get materials elsewhere. And with a team that's honestly been a terror to the entire NA Central region. This is kind of a surprise, and you've been saying it, nobody's backing down. Honestly, Papa Pollo said it as well. Peterbot plays mind games with all of you guys. He gets into your head, and that's why he's so successful. But guess what? No more mind games. I think everybody is ready to fight back.
Well, it doesn't need to be mind games because with Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache making the approach, Peterbot Gold Ritual, it's now or never. They've got to either dive in or they're going to find themselves getting absolutely pincered by several different teams. Baka, Pars, and Pump also know that same pressure could technically be applied to them if they're not careful. Seems like they might just want to break away here, create a little bit more space. They don't actually know what kind of position Peterbot and his team are in, but Baka cracking Peterbot's shields now means he could potentially try and press forward, but with Bold just steadily applying reverse pressure, he's making it very difficult, but the builds are running so low. Baka, Pars, Pump. Pars is down, though. It's just Baka and Pump now left to try and recover this situation. What looked so promising at the start, Cold is trying to shut down, but Cold needs too much damage. He has to pull back. He's got to wait for Ritual and Peterbot to provide, alleviate that pressure, but Peterbot, Ritual, now looking to try and dive forward. They need more surge.
Oh no, from bad to worse. Baka and them on the other side. They now only get the reboot, but the first knock on the Cold yet again. Earlier in this game, they took down Peter, they took down Cold, and they took down Ritual, and a West on top.
Baka, Pars, and Pump have just won the hearts of the crowd here in Lyon. And not only that, Jacob, but they just continue to make it feel impossible for Gold, Peterbot, and Ritual to perform here. But Clicks, Yamzo, Higgs, on the other end of that note, they're still trying to see if they can leapfrog their way into that top 5 position from the leaderboard. How many times have we seen strong performances convert to a big jump in placement? But Swizzy, Mustache, Queasy, as long as they stay tried and true to their strategy, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and they got such a good spot. Not only because the high ground, but Taco, take a look. Where is the zone going? Over Foxy Floodgate. That means there's going to be so many different elevations that if it pulls all the way towards the east or even towards the north and then back down to the south, it is going to be a roller coaster of emotions. And Benno, Flixie, and Vico throughout the day has been going through just that. 269 below the damage threshold. Even with Vino hitting a nice shot, it's not going to really change what they're facing right now. And that's why you see them scrambling, looking all around, trying to get information, figure out where they need to put their focus at.
They're likely going to have to drop to ultimate low and maybe try to play a pre-edit off of a back tarp. That would maybe be their best opportunity to find some big damage. Still, other teams are absolutely feasting here, and Benno's not going to get the chance from overhead. It's a minute. This is their backyard, essentially, and Foxy Floodgate now really heating up a Vico. He's not going to allow it. You take down one of my teammates, I'm going to take you with them. Braids having to play for the revive visuals, just not going to be able to do it, though. And Flixie, Vico, this is a dynamic duo, though, Jacob. They could really make it work.
Yeah, they've kind of put an all-or-nothing situation going after the high ground. Even though they picked up eliminations, got some points, they have a max pull on the other side. And this is what I warned you about, the different type of elevations that are going to start to come into play as Vico does it again. Taking down a Minish, making sure to clean that one up. 4 more points out of the total as they get their 5th elimination of the game.
All the way hanging back now. So much pressure being applied to this top section of Foxy Floodgate. But they are right back at home. Queasy, Mustache, and Swizzy looking to control the dam. And that's the most important part of Foxy Floodgate. If you have the dam control, you have all of height.
Yep, top 17, though. This is where placement points are going to start to set in and cascade further with each and every team that does get wiped off the lobby. Mustache, Queasy, Swizzy, they are not backing down. They are not shaking. They're just terrorizing everybody around the lobby. Pars really feeling the pain there, and that's because they have that bird's eye view. Nobody is contesting Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache on the high ground, and look exactly what's happening because of it.
There needs to be studies done on Queasy's brain because this position is absolutely unreal. Mr. Savage, Jab, Swizzy's pressure, but it's just so difficult to try and take those bloom battles from overhead, Jacob. This is so much leverage over the rest of the lobby, and Swizzy now trying to make sure that he doesn't find himself eating more damage than what he bargained for, but still he has Merstache to depend on. The moment that Swizzy's shields get cracked, he falls back, and Merstache immediately picks up the slack.
It's going to be tough because now we're going right back on over the open, and most of this next zone is just all low ground except for the far western side of it all, where there's going to be a mountain that you can try to attach to. So you got to make sure you planned ahead, peek through the cone, get the information. Yamzo, Clicks, and Higgs are doing just that. They're not the highest up, they're not the lowest either, but they're assessing the situation. Do we need to drop down further? Or do you let a team like Pigstorm and Demas get in front of you and try to land the damage? But not everybody is feeling as safe. Not everybody is feeling as comfortable. 66 damage above the threshold. Yapko, Panzer, and Seti, even though they're inside of that top 10, they still need to make that consistency count.
But do they have any Flowberry Fizz or Crash Pads? Because it's going to be difficult for them to work their way up and down this elevation. But the way that the zones are pooling here, Mr. Savage, Reason, and Chap now trying to see if they can work their way up from the underbelly of the lobby. They've got a semi-isolated layer, but they're going to be forced to drop. They don't have the materials to keep tarping through that mid-ground section. And underneath, where all of the congestion is very likely to start pooling into, that's just open season now for Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstache.
Savage team 2 points away from hitting that top 5. And the thing is, they were 1 point away, almost missing the Major 3 Grand Finals. They were 2 points in that last spot to secure the global spot. A miracle run is coming out as Queasy, once again, almost 2,000 damage, back-to-back games above the threshold. Yapko, Panzer, Seti, they're feeling the pressure from up above. You see a huge lack of not only materials, but resources as well, as he gets cut short. The wall breaks him off. He's going to go down, but for Yapko and Seti, this is everything.
They're still trying to see what kind of placement points they might be able to collect. Every little bit counts for that team, but Vanya, secondary height, Cammy, Hottie, and iDrop, they've also been rather quiet throughout today, Jacob, but that could change in an instant. Mr. Savage, Reason, and Chap now trying to make sure that their back tarp is fully closed off, but Savage not having the opportunity yet to keep building through. Chap picking up where his IGL left off. That is always what you would hope for in a team. Yamzo is sadly going to have to play it through with just Higgs, though, and this is a tough spot to be in, unless Higgs finds a big elimination for the refresh.
That was not only points for the elimination, but placement points as well, as the full trios wiped off the map. Acorn,
through the storm again. You did it on your own again. Goosebumps in your skin. Do you feel what I feel? I'm waiting on you to notice that you got what you wanted. We don't got time to cry right now. Only got time to focus. So here's on a wait list. I was armed and dangerous. Take a shot, leave them faceless. I was armed and dangerous. On a whole different level. I was armed and dangerous. I was armed and dangerous. You should have known it. I've been focused. You should have known it. I've been loaded. You should have known it. I've been focused. You should have known it. I've been loaded. Better watch your back, 'cause we aiming at your head. I don't need to pick me up and I don't need a rest. Knock down, top down, hit him in his leg. Pull up with the trio and my eyes all red. Get scared? Do you feel lost? I can smell fear. I've been there before, but you made it through the storm again. You did it on your own again. Goosebumps in your skin. Do you feel what I feel? I'm waiting on you.
Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to the Global Championships. My name is Zeke. Joining us here on the analyst desk, we've got Mini Miner, we've got 11-2K, and man, oh man, did we just have another game won by Queasy. The three back to back.
Zeke, you know what's happening right now?
What's happening?
I don't think you know what's happening right now.
Tell me.
The last time Queasy played a major final and won 3 games in a row,
he won
6 out of 12. He went on to win the next 2 games after that. He won 5 games in a row back in Chapter 4, Season 2 when he was playing with Venno. These guys don't know that they're slowing down anytime sooner. Our EU savior. Our EU savior, Queasy. Thank you. We might finally get one. Oh my goodness.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. They're playing perfect end games right now, perfect height. Just Queasy play style personified seeing them play right now. And, you know, we mentioned that 6 out of 12, right? They played a very similar style of play, that high ground. But I think they sort of they were a little bit adjusted this time. I think in that time, when they were playing for that 6 out of 12, when they won 6 out of 12, they were doing very, very well at retaking height with Bennett, right? Yeah. This time, they're taking it a lot earlier. We can see it right here, just building up really high and taking it early as the 8th zone here.
One thing I really loved, right, is, you know, Frankie was asking Queasy about the timing of when they take height. And, you know, a lot of the time he's received criticism in games and maybe people perceive them to take it too early. And he said, it's never too early to take height, right? I know what I'm doing. And, I mean, at this point, you just have to trust the guy. My mind is blown. 3 wins back-to-back on land.
Wow.
Like, I don't think people are really clocking how insane this is right now.
This feels almost like a major tournament, right? It feels like I'm going back. But then we remind ourselves, this is a global championship stage. These are some of the best trios from around the world. And he's making this look like it's just a normal, everyday game for him.
I mean, they're taking it early, but the way that they actually hold on to it is so, so good. When there's people crash panning up onto height, they don't panic. A lot of teams that are new to height, maybe don't play it so well, they will panic. They'll struggle. They won't deal with it as well. And you can see it right here. Vanya tried to take it right there at the end to try and take over the game, but they were calm. They were cool. They were collected. You even saw it in the interview there at the end. Queasy's just won 3 games out of 4 on LAN, and he's like, yeah, we're just going to keep trying to play our game. Like, he's so chill. I don't know how he's doing it. We saw Canal jumping around after the first game. I like that from the IGL, though. Is what you need.
Look at the numbers here, man.
Wow.
Before this game, I'd be curious to see what the updated stats are, but I was looking at the numbers before this game. Swizzy was leading damage, right? He had about 6,600 damage. The next person, second place, had like 3,000.
Wow.
Right? So he was already leading damage by double the second place. I can only imagine now it's even more. It might be triple at this point. These guys are going crazy. They're playing the best Fortnite of their lives at the perfect time.
It's so crazy to just think about, like, how this team is looking to attack any problem that is coming up. And I gotta say, this last game, endgame, was actually kind of crazy, right? It's like M8 versus M8, and you kind of don't know who to root for in that situation. M8's just like, ah! You know? But to see Vanya make it to this endgame and kind of fight it out here in the final few moments of the game, props to both sides. And still, right, maybe they didn't get the victory out, but they still play second. That's so much in terms of placement points.
Yeah,
these guys are unbelievable, right? But these guys are doing a great job of staying in this competition, fighting in this competition. You know, early on, maybe a bit more quieter, but they're starting to show us their prowess. I think the great thing about them as well is that we've seen them at times this year struggle when they try to go for height, and it doesn't work out for them. In this game, you know, they tried to take it, didn't work out, but they still make a good game out of it.
Yeah, and that's absolutely crucial. It's Marius, it's the fraggers that are doing a very good job. Of course, Pixie went down a little bit earlier here, so Vanya had to do a really good job, but I'm really impressed with how Marius is handling the pressure right here. Of course, there's been a lot of eyes on him over the last couple of years. Is he this sort of big fragger that everyone knows him for? Yes, proving it on the big stage, and it's, of course, a big moment for him being on LAN as well. So lots of questions going into this. They're answering it so far. The problem is, Queasy's just doing so well that they're struggling to catch up, but it's a really nice game, so they're moving up in the standings.
Let's take a little peek at the second page, though, right? Let's just kind of roll things down. How are things looking, right? We see Agers, Hoyo, and Acorn. What's crazy is I kind of didn't expect to see them this high up in the leaderboard, right? They're kind of lurking in the shadows. We haven't quite seen them have the game we're, like, used to seeing on NA.
Yeah.
But we still have 2 more games left to go on the day, so maybe they can piece something together.
A good time to try get some momentum. I feel like at competitions like these, when you start slow, you almost are out of sight, out of mind, right? These guys now, if they can sort of creep their way back in towards that sort of top 8 range going into tomorrow, they're still going to be, maybe not a good shot for contention if Queasy keeps playing like this, but they're still going to end up, you know, put themselves in a position to end up way up there in the leaderboard by the end of game 12.
Yeah, and they have the firepower, right? We talked so much about their drop spot at the beginning of the show, how powerful that really is. Of course, the team as a whole, the way that they can play, we know how well they can play end games as well. So all it takes is just 1 or 2 things to go their way. We all know about how good Hoyo is when it comes to those end game clutch situations as well. And I think maybe a little bit of the pressure aspect was coming into it, you know, walking out in front of this massive crowd, chanting your names. It can be difficult and it can be really, really tough to adjust.
And I'm telling you, man, well, we'll save that for later. You heard that bus horn. It is time to get back into game with only 2 games left to go. How do we position ourselves for day number 2? It is time for game number 5 on the day right now.
Only 2 games left on the day. You heard Zeke say it himself. And that just means time flies when you're having fun. One of the best events I've ever been a part of in person. And honestly, it hasn't disappointed so far. Queasy just lighting things up, back-to-back-to-back wins. And honestly, these contested fights have been telling a lot of how the game goes.
And we're finally going to get a taste, too, of some different scenes here at Kappa Kappa Factory. Seti, Panzer, Yapko, they've been putting on quite the performance today, Jacob, but it starts with this off-spawn battle. If Panzer, Seti, and Yapko can convert another successful off-spawn here, Kazi and Aspect, Tinka, they could be in a world of trouble. But it's Marius, it's Peterbot, both of them are not, but Pixie, he's got the better end of this deal. Vanya's still lurking overhead. Cole trying to see if he can recover anything from this situation, but it's not going to come to fruition just yet. In fact, Pixie, he's going to even be able to play for the revive. Vanya Boo-Boo not willing to chase down Cole just yet, but maybe after using some of these small shield potions, to feel a little bit more comfortable with that battle.
Insane scenes hit us yet again in game 5. and it's just leaving Cold in such a tough spot. But I see it in the feed. Was that Paper? Was that Victor V? Was that Epic Whale? All going down at Dystopia. Meanwhile, Vanya, Marius, and Pixie, they have literally no time. They can do whatever they want. They have the reboot card, one on one side of the mountain, Peter's on the other side of the mountain, and they haven't even looted up their POI, which means they're going to spend so much time at the OXR HQ, which means it's going to take a risk in order to get Peterbot and Ritual back in the game.
Something that also occurred quite quickly here. SETI, 3 eliminations, by the way. We didn't get to see exactly where it happened, but we know that they've been having a lot of success here at the Kappa Kappa factory, and there's more trouble still stewing. A look back into Rangers Ruin. We know so much about this Osmond battle, and Chino opening up big time, but Chicho thought he was going to be able to 180 that occurrence. Still, Tayson from behind manages to knock Chino, but this is just messy right now. Still, the big day holding it down. Pablo, though, still trying to see if he can punch his ticket in this lobby, and he holds it for his team.
A big win in that 1v1 against Tayson, but the team that has been putting on a show since game 2, in game 3, and in that last one as well, back-to-back wins, and you can see their first team to win 3 consecutive games at an FNCS LAN. And that's putting them so far ahead of everybody else. So even if they find themselves in a position where they're not winning the game, still top 8, top 5, that's still going to keep their lead intact.
But the conversation that I have to open up here, Jacob, is when we think about last year's Global Championship even, Queasy and Thomas HD were in this exact position as everybody else in the lobby. They were staring at that leaderboard. They were staring at Peterbot and Pollo running away with it. And then day 2 came to play. And Queasy manifested a huge performance to play so much catch-up. So while it might look very, I don't say impossible, but unlikely, I still think that there's opportunity for somebody else to try and play catch-up. But day 1 definitely seems like the momentum is riding high for Queasy's team.
Everybody else below Queasy on that leaderboard just has to keep it respectably close and regroup for tomorrow. Chino, Pablo, Prodoxy, even though they win that fight, one team has already moved over, and you can see in the minimap another team, King Phaser and PH Sin, they're trying to make their presence known. Madim Buriuriru and Wixie are there as well. These are our 3 teams from 3 different regions trying to lurk and make Rangers ruin their home. As Wixie's gonna get the 3-2-1, and he instantly goes down. Brazil strikes quick.
0 chance to even try and close that wall off. And that is a painful way to go out, but King Phaser fully on the come up here. Gino, Prodoxy, Pablo, they can hear those shots nearby. They know that there is another party rolling into the vicinity. Still, they're locked down. Mirim, Buiriru, 2s in a sea of 3s, and this is not the spot to be, but they don't really have a chance to get out just yet. They need Gino, Prodoxy, and Pablo to fight against Phaser, King, and PH Sin to see if they can maybe slip away.
So the Queen just going ahead and blasting onto some of these boxes. Cena giving away the position just a little bit. King, Phaser, they know they're there on the other side, but they don't know exactly where they're located at, which means PH Sin is just trying to get some high ground, some elevation, that eagle eye view so he can look over the land and figure out where everybody's at, taking their time. And these are the type of fights right here with people lurking around, crouching to hide those audio visuals. If you make the wrong play, it's a huge risk for that little reward.
But the material just favors so heavily into Brazil's hands. Gino, Pablo, and Prodoxy, because of that early off-spawn battle with Tayson, they haven't actually had a chance to really farm anything up in comparison to King Phaser and PXN, who are just now stealing away this Queen currently at Rangers Ruin. Prodoxy realizing we can't just let this go for free. They try to see if they can intervene, but it's just not an option that's afforded to them just yet because Marim Buiriru still lurking nearby. It's not a favorable option, and they know it's likely best to potentially disengage.
Yeah, and you can see it because they have control of the high ground and the whole outside. They're starting to target down that Queen. As you see in the feed, the cleanup is complete. Cold goes down, and another 0-point game for what was looking like the most dominant team coming into this event. A huge wake-up call as they're in 30th place, but for Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, that's just one step closer to that first place spot.
And for Vanya, Pixie, and Medias, they don't want to lose sight of the primary objective, and that is just to keep securing the strong end game placements. Every little bit counts if you're looking to try and play catch up to Queasy at this point. And Jeff, Frieza, and Mr. Savage, another team where there's been so much praise on Chap's shoulders, and for good reason. You could even argue that if it weren't for Chap, Mr. Savage and Frieza might not even be at the Global Championship right now. But the Major 3 performance, that's something that we're still waiting for Chap to just have that highlight game.
That's a really good point because Mr. Savage was done. Mr. Savage said, I retired. It was great playing Fortnite, but I think it's time for the next step in his journey. Well, the next step was coming out of retirement, qualifying by such mere points. It was destined to happen to see him here and playing as extraordinarily well as they have been so far. Malibuka walks and pings. You can see them set up just outside the Outpost Enclave, just trying to trade off shots into the distance. And it gets Pollo, Agers, and Acorn. And honestly, I think this was the difference maker. We saw both of these teams before slightly weather, one more than others, but I think it's because of exactly this. They're now trading off shots for Storm Surge versus the rest of the lobby, and it's given them a little bit more flexibility in different cases.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Vico, though. Parades, where are you at? This is the wrong neighborhood. And Benno, Vico, Flixie, now with 3 eliminations in total, Jacob. This is much more room to work with than what they've been afforded, and especially considering that Coyota eliminated Benno very early on, but still, Vico, Flixie cover the situation, and now look what Benno's able to accomplish. A Minish, clean wipeout there by Benno.
I think Benno needs to keep playing like he has a chip on his shoulder, almost something to prove. That contested drop is not going to be easy for anybody, but if you could find a way, come out and have games like this and really make them count, like we kind of saw between Tayson and Prodoxy to start the day in games 1 and 2. Just got to be able to keep that momentum up. Phaser, King, PH in, rotating around. I thought I saw, yes, I was about to say, I thought I saw somebody moving on over towards that bunker. It is going to be our team from Brazil, King, Phaser, and PH in. That means that play they made to rotate on over to Ranger's Ruin, not only third party and get the eliminations, but eventually take down the Queen, works out perfectly.
Every single Globals, there's always that one surprise pop-out wild card from the international scene. And I think, at least for day 1, King, Phaser, and PHN have definitely taken that position in representing what these teams from the global presidents are able to provide. And this is looking like a very sound setup. They've done a great job at essentially infiltrating that Rangers Ruin third-party action. And it's caused such a dominoes effect across the map. It changes so much of how the game is played when Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino aren't able to just conveniently take their third-party options and all those surprise pop-up performances, finding those eliminations, intercepting teams on their loop path rotates.
I like this play me out. Curly, Reed, and Cooper, they haven't had the best luck finding teams to trade shots off with at a distance, and now they have to do something different, go box to box, play a little bit more aggressive. Curly's doing just that, forcing Sod out, but they trade shots. Luckily for him, his teammates are there to save the day. Curly gets the elimination. Siphon is what he needed most in that moment, and now they get the loot. You see the extra splashes and that full loadout that they're kind of able to change things in and out, and it's a confidence boost for a team that honestly, listening to them talk yesterday, they didn't think they had their game plan anymore from what they practiced coming into the Global Championship. They had to pull something out from underneath their sleeve, and, well, that's one way to do it.
Not the only magician working in this lobby. Benno, just a little bit of a heist here onto Hero. Tries to take that launch pad instead of punish for it, and Vico following up. This is exactly why you don't want to give Benno any space, because the way that they're trying to control that mountain rage now, it's forcing teams to funnel through in a way that makes it so easy for them to find those knocks and eliminations, or just surge in general.
Yeah, or at least at the bare minimum, get them to waste a lot of materials rotating on over into a spot where you might not be able to get much. Pickstorm, Demus, you see kind of a smooth rotation. Not too many players near them yet in the distance either, so they can focus on one thing and one thing only, getting to where they need to be. As we take a look at Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts, they started the day off with a big win. I think it was around like 101, maybe 104 points. Since then, it's been anything but perfect. But this is the real test, especially for somebody like Canal, where I was talking about how different he looked coming into this event. Now we get to see what are you truly made of.
But they're still within striking range, a top 3 within day 3. They haven't had, you know, the craziest day ever after, especially after what we witnessed in game 1. We're definitely maybe looking for Canada Rapid Bolts to keep seeing how consistent they could be, but until they find a way to replicate that game 1 performance, things are going to continue to get more and more difficult as everybody starts to find a better grasp, a better idea of where they want to go to try and find any little bit of placement points to put them inside of a better position for day 1 closure.
Again, I talked about Acorn, Pollo A, just going back to what has worked best coming into the Global Championship. That's kind of setting up one of those bases. You have an abundance of heals that the Demons Debris, you just got to figure out a way to utilize them. It's like Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo rotating south from Supernova Academy. They were one of those teams kind of looking off into the distance, whether if it was Savage, we saw moments there, Saad and Ryu up towards the top. They have multiple targets that they try to use early game to build that Storm Surge and kind of give flexibility for rotations just like this.
I think it was very smart, though, the way they were utilizing that natural map terrain, hugging towards that lower territory so they don't get spotted out from those teams that are in those high ground positions. They're just fully covered by those cliff faces, but looking into what our leading contenders are getting up to, Mustache, 0 shotgun damage. And my favorite part about this morning, Jacob happened to encounter Queasy, and he made it known, we're not going to carry shotguns. We are running ARs. We are running the record revolvers. And you know what? With what they're doing, with the way that they're playing height, they're not giving anybody the luxury or the option to even try and challenge them on height. They don't have to do anything up close and personal, because if it does come down to that, they still got those record revolvers to work with, which is basically just a pistol shotgun in the first place.
How do you win back-to-back games with 0 shotgun damage? I am blown away, but that's a testament of how good they are actually playing, and the consistency is out of this world. To jump on over Kadu, Striker, and Tisco. They were so close. They had the high ground in some of our previous games, but now they need to fight out of this mess. Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino, they're the ones on the other side. They're the ones that are putting down that pressure and not really backing down. You see the triple weapon loadout for multiple of these players as well. They're ready to fight, and they're ready to fight big.
But Chino and Pablo, they're really looking like they're starting to find their rhythm in this lobby. They love just getting so fraggy with it. It's going to be a little bit of a hold, though, by Striker, Kadu, and Tisco, while Prodoxy takes this opportunity to heal back up. A little bit too pinched there, but Chino, he just keeps battering away at Kadu, Striker, and Tisco, and that knock now means a separate approach. Prodoxy on the flank, Chino and Pablo on the front side, and Striker doing what he can to try and hold things down, but the walls are just so difficult to break through. He's hoping to find some form of an edit, some kind of right side peek. Striker, though, no shield. Pablo, Chino, Prodoxy, they are fully in control of this. That is until Pablo realizes it's Curly, it's Cooper, it's Reed right behind them. He doesn't have any options. They've just got to reconvene with each other.
For Reed, Cooper, and Curly, there's no time like the present, and they're really trying to make these little seconds count. Able to clean up that one elimination, the extra loot, but most importantly, the Storm Surge that they're able to get. And since they're the team on the outside of this overall battle, they have the option if they want to disengage or keep putting pressure in this scenario. For Oxy and Chino, they have no other choice with or without that reboot card to try to get out and save what they have of this game. We kept talking about between them and Tayson off spawn, battling it out. You have to make sure if you win these games off spawn, you go as far into the end game with as many eliminations as possible.
For Prodoxy and Chino, that maneuver by Reed, Curly, and Cooper, it's like getting an eyelash stuck in your eye. Just so annoying, but what can you do? Just the nature of the game here. All the while, Clicks, Higgs, Iamzo, they've caught up now to Snowy, Saad, and Ryu, and they've got them on the ropes right now, but Ryu still looking to fight back. All of these international teams, they have not backed down even once throughout today's matches, Jacob, and they are coming with some big firepower. But Iamzo, the future, he's got to control the present right now, though, and with Clicks and Higgs right next to him, they need to find these eliminations. All of the surge would just be so impactful.
Yeah, you can see both of these teams in a relatively tough spot, forced to crouch down if they're on the low ground. But Saad, Ryu, Snowy, they're trying to go for alert, surprise attack. They're getting into the box in 2 different directions, but the third party is in, and they run out of material. Sod is in a tough spot, and it's going to continue to get tougher. Multiple players on that trio are out of materials overall, and Yamso finally dropping down. He's bringing the sun to a snowy day.
That's exactly what they needed. This is so much room to work with now. The Yamso clicks, they just continue to close in, and finally Ryu's gonna be eliminated, folded over. Almost 1900 damage above on that surge threshold, Jacob. Perfect placement for these guys to be now. Can they convert it to the end game win that they've been seeking all day long?
Yeah, and you can see just like that with those eliminations, they move up into a top 5 spot on the leaderboard. One more elimination away from top 4. One more elimination away from that, from a top 3 at the Global Championship. This is only game number 5, though. There's going to be 7 more games. 1 more today, 6 more tomorrow before we crown our best in the world at the Fortnite Global Championship. And this could be one of them. Savage, Chap, and Reason. I was talking about Destiny. We just got to figure out if it's theirs.
And Mr. Savage, a couple of medkits to boot. Chap, Reason. They've also got the geysers just in case they need that quick stimmy of HP 30 shot. But Yuma, Grise, Koyota, a little bit of a hiccup at the starting point. Still managing to try and make it work. But Jacob, all of these teams, there's like a certain level of paranoia that starts to enter the closer and closer that everyone becomes, especially because we just know the high ground is where nobody has been able to really look towards. And yet, one more time, we're seeing a zone pull right towards Foxy Floodgate. And I almost have to, I just want to know, where is Queasy at? Because he's got to be close by.
If I'm any person in this lobby, but Queasy, of course, I'm saying please pull north. Get away from these mountain ranges. Get away from that dip in Foxy Floodgate. And if you're a team that's realizing what's happening in this game, a very, very similar zone towards last game, you got to start to look at your materials. Do we have enough? If not, how are we going to get it? Some would say maybe a refresh, farming where you can if you're on the slow side of zone. But sometimes things like that aren't always possible. And you can see Pixdarm and Demas in that exact situation. Even though they're 356 above the damage threshold, you're seeing the side that they have to rotate in, Taco, stacked like pancakes.
It's just so impressive to think that this is a team, this is their first land, and they're not playing anything like it. But Mr. Savage, Chap, they've now got to see if they can pull together here. Reason with the double revive, they bring him back up into the mix, but they still have such an uphill battle to tackle here because they're so far behind. And look at all these teams that are piled into the zone just in front of them. That edge is going to be tough to break into.
Yeah, and that's why you see Sphinx and them trying to be the trolls underneath the bridge, a little bit of a safer rotation, talk about natural elements to try to use and crowd some of these shots. But 488, drastically below, almost need 3 straight eliminations. Savage is looking, but he's finding nothing but the lobby. Back they go, and a huge boost right there for Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx, because they are relatively high up above, but it's the loot. You can see half of the fizz gone, half of the splash is gone, so that was a must.
I think the bigger relief, though, for Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx is that they know with Mr. Savage's team having been wiped, there's nobody behind them. So now they can push forward and just control that more uncontested area of the zone. Still need to be wary, though. Are catching glimpses of Kanata, Bolt, and Rapid in the distance. And, of course, Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache steadily starting to scale their way up towards an elevated position, but there's several other teams nearby that have the same intentions.
Yeah, if you guys see multiple teams in the distance, you got Thunderbolt striking down, that Storm Surge, even though Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache don't exactly know those teams are below it, they will hear the shields crack. King's gonna go down, but Poyo is the one that's potentially stealing away those points. And maybe even the loot as it fully gets cleaned up. Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache put the full target down on a PH in. He's just trying to get some of that loot from his fallen comrade.
Do Swizzy and Mustache ever miss?
No.
The answer's gonna be no. Okay,
No.
PH in, eliminated. Mustache with another one. But that's actually gonna be the first one of this lobby. They've just been collecting so many eliminations throughout today's lobbies, Jacob. It's almost crazy to think that that's their first, but Queasy could be in trouble. Does manage to break away from where Bolt, Rapid, and Kanata are at, but Kanata, you know that he's scheming inside of this middle section. He wants to maybe try and set up for a pre-edit on their back target, but they know there's another team directly underneath them. And it's gonna be School and South go caught off guard. They're not gonna be in.
That is a lightning strike if I've ever seen one myself. Bolts taking down all 3 players of the NA West Major 2 champions, Arxful and Salco. And the thing about Arxful and Salco, I saw it for just a quick moment, they were below the damage threshold as well. So their aggression, even though they are picking up eliminations, isn't working out as good as they hoped.
But it's still a damper for Kanata and Bolts. Bolts now losing all of his shield. Still, he'll have the opportunity to recover that, but it's the loss of Rapid that's really going to start impacting where Bolts and Kanata might end up here. Fortunately for them, Zone pulling a little bit away from those mountain faces, so as a duo, they can still look to break through the low ground, but Queasy, Mustache, Swizzy, Gentlemage going absolutely ballistic in this audience right now, and for good reason. Mustache said it, we're just gonna keep winning, and they've got 3 already at the international level, Jacob. A land historic event, and they're still looking to see if they can get more.
We are literally watching the Queasy legacy in the making. Levin said it himself. The last time Queasy won 3 games in a row, he went on not only to win that major, but win 6 out of 12 games. Something that has never been done on that region of EU ever before and ever again. And this could be that moment in history that you look back at when you talk about how great Queasy actually is. It is all because of this, but there's still so many threats in their path. They just have to look up. They have to try to go for high ground and stop the plate trade. Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo, they have been known to do it on NA Central. They just have to figure out how to do it here on the international stage.
And they might have to deal with Pars, Baka, and Pump along the way. Yapko, Seti, Panzer, they've also done a rather excellent. And they're looking for yet another repeat here, trying to clear some space in that secondary height, but they know if they want their odds to turn this into a victory royale, they're gonna need more than just secondary height. Pump falls to Clicks. This is big time for Xset because they need to pop off here.
Yeah, they truly are looking elite as a trio and taking the front side of the zone, something Yamzo knows to do best, but they have to be careful. Marius, Vanya, and Pixie, they're bouncing around with those crash pads, instantly climbing up that mountain, and that just means better positioning right away, and it gives them that luxury to look back, see all these other players rotate through. He's peeking through the stair, he sees Acorn, Aders, and Pollo, but it's not ready to go for it just yet, and nobody has even had an opportunity to look up. They're attached at the backside of the zone. They're attached right in the middle. It's not even going to be easy when somebody eventually does.
But that's the problem. Nobody else can actually make their way up towards the high ground because Sweezy, Queasy, and Mustache refuse to budge. They just keep shutting down every single opportunity, forcing these teams to converge onto each other as iDrop now trying to see if he can collect an elimination there. A knock, anything. He needs a massive refresh here, but it's Pixie who finds Hottie, Marius, Pixie, and Vanya now looking to see what more they can seek out.
4 eliminations so far into the top 12. Placement points are flying in. Half of them at least at the top 8. Veno, Vigo, they're in that line of path. Marius looking up for only a quick second. Not really focusing on the Queasy up above. It's probably too hard. You see their materials being drained right out of their inventory. Everybody else feeling the same thing. Forcing Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks to drop down low. The blessing is they're in the front side of zone, so they have a little bit more to work with.
But the control from Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache on the high ground, Jacob, they're forcing all of these teams to swap layers to ultimate low. And with that in mind, Mustache, Queasy, Swizzy, just non-stop berating. These teams are forced. They're looking up, they're looking down, they're trying to find refreshes, but they have no breathing room. They are being suffocated right now by height.
With the conversations going on before the Global Championship, who probably smiling ear to ear right now with EU doing the performance that they are of a Canada Bolts. They're trying to channel how they played in game number 1. Finds a key elimination on to Reed. Not just elimination points, but placements as well. Cammy falls. 4 points from the lobby. Swizzy's trying to drop down low. He's just getting loot. He's bringing it back up to his IGL.
And that is all Swizzy has to keep tabs on alongside Mustache. Everything getting dropped at Queasy's feet so he can have the ultimate success here. But Marius, he's in too much trouble. Marius trying to squeeze away. It's Vico, it's Veno, and Flixie chasing them down. They know that they're going to have to clear out all of these players inside of these lower layers if they want a real shot at beating Queasy up on height.
Yeah, if there's any team that I think has a chance to look up and at least give them a fight, it is going to be them as Marius is forced outside of the zone, almost a 1v1 against Clicks, and Clicks gets the knock. Can he get the elimination? No, he can't. No siphon for him, but the battle, the inevitability is finally here. Vico's taking charge, but he's also taking most of that damage. Flixie's forced to reload. Venno is in that mid-cut as well, a challenge that they did not find success on, but relatively so. Even if they might not have the high ground, they put Queasy and Mustache on the back foot.
And that's the problem, Queasy, Mustache, they could still tank a little bit of zone here just because of that exotic fizz, but at the same time, Vico, Venno, Flixie, they're now trying to remind everybody this might be, it's Queasy's tourney so far, but we still want to take the from that. Mustache finding the biggest elimination of the Venno, the siphon carrying him forward, the hopes of Gentleman now resting on his shoulders. Flixie trying to hang, but Flixie wins it all, shutting down the dream. You better.
We talked about the 6 of 12. It was with that man right there, Venno, with Vico and Flixie by his side. They are looking like a terror on the lobby. Frankie, we gotta hear one from them by themselves.
We need to hear what you have to say, Flixie. What's it like getting a victory royale here on LAN in Lyon?
It's great. I mean, we died off spawn, we clutched the game. It's really good.
And yeah, you clutched the game. I mean, it was quite the competition between you and the leaders of the lobby. Were you aware it was Queasy you were up against?
I mean, we knew it was Queasy, but we're just better than them, so we just went up and killed them.
I think you might need to get a few more victory royales before you can say that. I do want to come to you, Venno, obviously up against an ex-teammate you know really well. Does that make it a bit more satisfying or even a little bit more in your head? You know each other so well.
Nah, if I can't win this tourney, I want Queasy to win.
Oh, I've never heard him say such nice things. Thank you, Venno. And of course, Choco, à toi pour Vico.
How do you feel after this first victory royale, and how will you do the second one?
Hey, I mean, I feel great, you know. We finally got a win that we wanted, you know. We're still calm though, but it's kind of hard. But hey, I mean, we're doing the best of it. Next round, you know, we're gonna win our spawn. We're gonna win the game again, you know. We're gonna catch up to Queasy finally and shit. So yeah.
Ils sont très déterminés à remonter dans ce classement et à continuer de monter. Ils adorent et surtout ils sont très confiants pour aller chercher une deuxième victoire.
Are you expecting to still be contested at Canyon Crossing?
I mean, we were expecting it because they were laying down Asia, but I think there's no point for them to contest because, I don't know, even if they're winning, they're not getting good games, so...
Well, we will see after this short break.
Get scared, or do you feel lost? I can smell fear, I've been there before. But you made it through the storm again. You did it on your own again. Goosebumps in your skin. Do you feel what I feel? I'm waiting on you to notice that you got what you wanted. We don't got time to cry right now, only got time to focus. feel lost. I can smell fear. I've been there before. But you made it through the storm again. You did it on your own again. Goosebumps in your skin. Do you feel what I feel?
Welcome back, Fortnite fans, to the Global Championship. What could have ended in a crazy way results in Vico Benoflixi finding themselves a victory royale in game number 5. EU is truly on top right now. My gosh, I love the responses as well from the trio. Keeping it humble, keeping it honest. But for them, you know, especially now with one game to go, this is such a great way to go into that final game and kind of start setting up for day number 2.
Such perfect timing for these guys, right? Coming into the last game right now, winning game number 5. And in the manner at which they did it, Levin, it's very similar to what we've seen throughout this entire season, an entire sort of year from these guys. The way they play height, the way they try and retake it. Queasy did make it a little bit difficult for them. It wasn't absolutely straightforward, so they had to drop down. But, I mean, this is exactly what we expected from these guys this weekend. They're finally awoken.
I'm going to throw some shade to my brother Zeke.
No.
I'm sorry I have to do it to you, Zeke.
Don't do it.
Oh, no.
Zone 11, we're watching Flixi. He looks up to high. He's looking up. He's scouting it. Zeke goes, yeah, man, don't even bother looking at high, bro. Don't even bother looking at high.
Oh.
But, again, we can't blame Zeke, right? He's been on NA for a year, right? Us EU watchers know when it's Flixi, Veno, Vico, a late height take. Zone 11 height takes, it's their specialty. Again, like you said, not executed as cleanly, but executed like they know well. And a really big game from them here. It's a great momentum boost and a great response like they were alluding to after going down on spawn in the previous game.
Yeah. Listen, I just wanted Queasy to win again, okay? I wanted to see 6 in a row on land. Forgive me, Levin. I joined the EU crew. You know what? Maybe EU isn't on top. Going back to NA where I belong. Obviously, you know, still on the other side of that,
of course.
Easy. Like, if they had won that game, it would have been insane. The fact that they placed second, though, is still amazing, right? Like, you cannot deny. But, of course, if they had won the game, it just would have been just the tiniest bit better. My gosh, Queasy, Murstache, Swizzy popping off here. 461 points, if I remember correctly. These guys are on fire, Mini. Yeah. I don't know how we stop them.
I mean, honestly, they were set up for success this entire end game. They really did well to claim that high ground like we expected them to do, going towards the zone. They had a nice favorable pull, of course, over to that hill. And then when Queasy actually built out into the zone, which I thought was a really nice play, if zone was to pull over that hill, it ended up pulling the other way. So they did, of course, have to invest on materials, which is why they ended up going down a little bit earlier here. But, I mean, what a clutch here from a Stash. What could have been, Levin?
I mean, look, I low-key do wish we were in the alternate universe where he wins that. Because there is one, right?
Yeah.
He's so close. It comes down to just the difference between a little bit of damage. Regardless of that, though, right? Still a fantastic game to help them keep their lead, keep momentum, right? Because the worst thing you can have in a situation like this, and, you know, speaking of Queasy when he won 6 out of 12, it almost sort of did happen where after they had won, like, the 6th game, you know, they're almost like, everything's won. We've won it, you know, they have a bit of a mediocre game, and, like, the momentum's lost, but it's fine. We've won the tournament. These guys haven't won the tournament yet. They need to keep that momentum. That's still a great game.
That's right, man. One game left to go before we say goodbye for the first half of the day of the competition. You heard that sound. The battle bus is ready. Let's get it.
One last ride on the battle bus to score things out for day 1 here of the FNCS 2025 Global Championship. And Leon has been absolutely electric through all of it. Massive shout outs and love to the fans here in the crowd. But firstly, Jacob, we have to tackle the elephant in the room. It's what's been taking place between Fortnite and Tayson since we last peeked in over at Kappa Kappa Factory in the previous lobby. But now we're back at home.
I was about to laugh to myself. You're talking about Fortnite and Tayson. But what about the 50 other teams that end up over at Rangers throughout the course of the game? They realize how this fight goes, and typically it might be left to just one person trying to clutch up. As Prodoxy gets that first sweeper shotgun, it's going to work out perfectly. Chicho goes down. Tayson follows next. That's back-to-back eliminations, but Chino's going to go down. That's going to give them an opportunity opportunity back, and if you notice, Fordoxy has no more ammo in his shotgun, and Riz is trying to take advantage of that fact. He finally picks up a few, but the damage has already been done. Riz with only 3 HP, and Pablo and Fordoxy on the other side are at least a duo, a strong duo at that, and they have a chance here to end the fight, and they do so with ease.
I want to believe, but when Pablo is just that healthy, the outcome is basically inevitable. Fordoxy, Chino, and Pablo Wingo will play out the duration of Lobby 6, and this time it was so fast that Brazil likely won't be able to stroll on over and try to play spoiler.
I mean, I did see in the feed, there was a team that was going in that direction. They saw the fight end in the feed. They said, you know what, maybe next game, maybe tomorrow we'll do this.
Let me the other way.
Yeah, but you see what's going down here right now. They actually chose to split the drop. Toyota, Yume, and Rice are going to take the top side of Canyon. That comes with the swarm. That comes with a little bit of XP. But Vico, Flixie, and Benno, they're taking actual Canyons crossing. There's a little bit more loot over here for them. And they said, hey, things haven't been going our way in the actual fight. Let's actually try to play some of these games out. And even last game, they did that exact thing, and it worked out. You saw them win that game.
There's still a leaderboard that teams want to play for prizing, Jacob. Even if it might not necessarily be a threat to first, or even the top 3 in general, it's still opportunity for life-changing money, right? And Epic Whale, Paper, Victor V, they're looking to tackle Razzle, Tete, and Raito. They have primary control of Dystopia City. They have pushed Raito's team towards the edge, but Epic Whale still needs to try and connect another shot here. He knows that Paper is going to have that overhead sightseeing, and Razzle, not a whole lot of materials, but Paper just trying to stay on top of this fire, just trying to see if he can apply more pressure for Victor V to capitalize on.
Yeah, my eyes initially peeked at Shining Span where Cammy lands. I saw them, but now you saw Ritual in the distance as Wox being in Malibuca. They're taking the fight on over. That's Aspect's team, and Aspect was the one that was landing towards the Kappa Kappa factory. So you're already seeing they're changing up their game plan. They're trying to steal away some loot away from Malibuca and Wox, but that's not something you want to do at all.
And Malibuca, Wox being more than happy to try and collect whatever opportunities come their way. They're willing to try and generate these occurrences themselves, and they are just chasing these teams way out to the outskirts. This is a big commitment, but if they find the eliminations, it's all worth it.
I like what they're doing here. They're just trying to trust in each other for the most part. One's going to go on over, try to see if they can find him, which it doesn't look like they do. They immediately turn back. It's not worth it in their heads to go for it as Peterbot finally makes his position known along with Ritual and Cold, and they immediately jump onto Paper. He was positioned on top of that with his building. Tagging that team down below, was not watching his back, and that's exactly what's going to do him in the end. You see Victor V looking like the only player left alive for his team. He's just trying to disengage and at least try to give him a chance to get back on up.
But it's the fact that Victor V is still left standing. Bit tragic. The Paper Epic Whale, they just never saw it coming. The Crash Pad Fizz combination a little bit too potent here, and Paper punished for that overhead position and not keeping tabs of what's flying through the sky after him.
Honestly, depending on where the zone goes, is going to help their chances or hurt them for Victor V, trying to get his entire team back into the game. We kind of saw more and more teams throughout the day kind of move over into this position, and that's going to remain the same. One all the way towards the north. Tisco and his trio, literally inside of Ranger's Ruin as well, but they're positioned above. And then Fordoxy, who obviously knows where that team's at, where they're positioned, and he's at least trying to shoot off shots in their direction with that Stinger SMG, so he knows it's not going to get a ton of damage, but anything's better than nothing.
And Fordoxy, Pablo, and Gino have just been playing whack-a-mole all day long. It's like the moment they take out one team, they still got to deal with another one popping up from seemingly nowhere, and Pablo still working through the lobby. Grise and Coyota going to be victims at the other end of that shotgun barrel, but Yuma still trying to do what he can to pick up the pieces here. It was a nice knock onto Gino. Unfortunately, the 1 versus 2 situation, that's just so hard to convert into a victory there. So they're going to be put down temporarily, but things are getting messy here in the south side.
Yeah, this is not where I expect Benno and Vico and Flixie to kind of end up, going all the way towards the south side of the map. That's given Allison On and Resigns an opportunity to get the early surge, steal away some of this loot. And you can see what Venno, he has really no other choice. He knows the full team is all around, and a third party closed off into the distance. Even with 69 HP, he does have some extra shields, but he doesn't want to give away his position with those audio visuals. Alex finally found him out, and the full team is wiped off from Victory Royale to 30th place.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where Venno tries to go after that. Alex resigns and Anon. We're never going to let them leave this vicinity. It's just way too primed up of a chance, and they're not going to come by often, but still, Alex resigns. Got to keep open eyes on the map because Mixin and Focus, they might just have a chance to shut down everything that Alex just worked to accomplish. But Alex spots him out through the window, and Alex not going to be able to get that shot just yet, but still, the damage has been done. Focus, Mixin, they're bailing.
Yeah, and they're only a duo. That's basically giving away your position for Alex and Anon Resign to make that decision. Do we fight it? Do we beat him on towards the mountain priority position? What's more important here? And I honestly like their decision to close out the day, play a little bit more aggressive, try to get more points, and already they get the knock onto Focus. Now they're in a 3v1 situation, and they're already spotting Mixin on the other side. He tries to go for the 1v1, the 50-50, and it's so quick. Alex, Resign, and Anon, they get their 4th elimination of the game.
And look, the leaderboard might be telling one story, but the real narrative is that Oshi's got some real fighting power with Alex, Resigns, and Anon. And it's unfortunate that they just haven't had anybody to really get their surge in, so it's just been so difficult for them to actually traverse every single one of their rotates, if they even make it off of their initial drop in the first place. But it's been a completely different story, as we all know, for Swizzy, Queasy, and Murstache. They have been titans of this lobby, and even with Murstache being knocked, no problem whatsoever, because they're not going to be keyed anytime soon. It's just not worth the effort from the team that they're trading blows with. They know it's way too dangerous to actually make that trek.
And it's almost kind of like having me ask myself a question in my head for Vortex, Goofy, and Mountain. When do you stop targeting Queasy and his entire trio on the other side? Because even though that's helping them get some Storm Surge, it's helping Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy a lot more, and they're bringing it much further on into the game. In the feed, Arc taking down one of the members of OCE Power's team, Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Because of their early aggression, they're able to get the Queen out of Dystopia City and immediately make their way on over towards that vault, where they're not only able to have that mythic AR, but they have the exotic as well.
And while we are seeing some mild forms of success currently for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, the big thing to keep in mind here, Jacob, is that for a lot of these international teams and just other teams in the lobby in general, it can be very difficult to really find an opening. And you know, you're talking about Goofy and Mountain and what they're capable of, and is this even worth taking the battle? But they're in a pick your poison situation. They're so far northwest, their only options are Muzz, Mr. Savage, or Queasy. And they just keep landing on Queasy every time, while King and Phaser try to recover this battle up against Chino, Pablo, and Prodoxy.
Ooh, almost landed that good shot, but King, honestly, watching him throughout the season, when it comes to this double pump, it packs so much of a punch. He has Prodoxy and Chino on the slivers of HP, but unfortunately, the bait and switch comes through yet again. Pablo, knowing his teammates are weak, takes charge, gets that elimination onto King, leaving Phaser by himself. But it's so early on in the game, Taco. Third zone, one tick. Even though he has only one med kit, I'm not too worried because they're going to have to rotate out of that position.
Look, we know that King is good at fighting, but in this lobby right now, Pablo has just been better with everyone that he stumbled across, and that kind of performance can carry them a long way. It's starting to feel a little reminiscent, Jacob, of that early performance that they had start this day off. 85 points secured in one lobby. And who's to say they couldn't do it again?
Yep, you can see Zeddy, Echo, and Panzer have taken the most storm damage of all teams. With the way some of these games have been going, not too surprised. Zone moving towards the north in a couple of games, all the way towards the west. They land at Kappa Kappa. They have a contested fight, and then so many other teams along the way, they almost have no other choice, especially since this has been a huge part of their strategy when it comes to these surge bases, and they have that abundance of extra HP, so it's no worries.
But the conversation that's been building between the SETI-Cammy breakup, and we're looking at both of these separate trios having so much consistent success that they are both within our top 5 here in day one. There's a real chance for SETI and Cammy to try and see, you know, who is really the problem. And right now, based off their performances, Jacob, I don't think either of them were. I think they were both just ready for a switch up.
I know when we talk about like some teams just forming, you know how they sometimes hit that honeymoon phase? What a perfect time for them to hit that phase and keep that consistency going. Coming together, qualifying in Major 3, and really taking that opportunity, just that chance to play at the Global Championship and running away with it. Same with Vanya, Marius, and Pixie. They get their drop spot uncontested. And honestly, whether it's contested or not, we saw Cold and his trio try to go ahead and make that their home, but that was quick work for them off that 50-50 drop off the side of the mountain, where you're seeing a lot of our top teams here, how they're rotating with the zone pulling towards the south. A lot of them are beating other teams to the punch. They're not taking that crowded position in towards the zone.
But this is really nice for Clixigs and Yamcha to continue to press forward because they're approaching that mountain range overhead of Foxy Floodgates. They're coming from that north side position, pushing south. They're going to have that little bit of elevation to work with, and we've even got a nice little listening to see what Clix is getting up to.
They're extremely.
Yeah, look at them. Look at this. Shoot. 3, 2, 1. 30. Go. Let's go. Let's class, please.
No. We full greet them.
I like it. They got the damage. And Higgs, for a moment, was like, hey, let's go. Let's pick up the elimination. Let's go and go for more. But they realized they're at the top side of the leaderboard. They don't have to take any unnecessary risk to close out the day. This is game 6 out of 12. So we got 6 more games tomorrow. And so honestly, for a lot of these teams, you just want to get as close to Queasy, Mustache, and Swizzy as possible so we have a chance tomorrow.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache, Jacob, because while they're here tackling Brazil, PH, Zin, Phaser already not. That's going to be the eliminations there. Excuse me, that's going to be King instead. But Jacob, so much damage having been done there. And Queasy now on the back foot. He's actually going to have to depend on Mustache and Swizzy to close this one out because Chino, Prodoxy, Pablo, they've now entered this battlefield. And Prodoxy, he doesn't seem interested in leaving anytime soon.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing for the entirety of the lobby, not just for Doxy, Pablo, and Chino here in this situation. You take them down, and I like taking matters into your own hands because 4th place, first place, second place for Queasy and them at the top of the leaderboard. You cannot expect them to go down early. Sometimes you have to do things yourself. Phaser might not even know that there's a whole trio up above, but he might not have the HP. Storm Sickness is a possibility. He might have no other choice but to move into this trio.
It's just witnessing what Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino are able to accomplish when they finally have an opportunity to make it off spawn, Jacob. They've had to deal with so much action throughout every single one of these lobbies here today, and yet they're still managing to manifest these opportunities for themselves.
You can see they're even so close to Pix, Darm, and Demas, who are playing out of their minds, not just here, but all year long. And you can see the zone moving over towards Demons, Debris, them, and a bunch of other teams. They're kind of setting up. They're not necessarily going for high ground. They feel like they have enough surge to make that not necessarily a worry, but they're just trying to go over towards those mountains just in case we get one of those max pulls towards the west, which I do like thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, even though it's relatively early. The 4th zone, you sometimes, with the way this finals has been going, you want to prioritize your rotation and your overall positioning.
And look, Pixstar and Demas, they're just so central right now. They're not really feeling too much pressure to leave just yet. And they're also having to monitor Pixie, Vanya, Marius directly next to them. So it's not like it'd be an easy rotation just yet either. But Mr. Savage, Reason, they're trying to see what they can do up against the likes of Disco and Gadu, but Striker might just be looking to try and hold him down, but Reason, nice chunk of HP there. It's gonna go missing from Gadu. Reason now on the ropes, so he's not gonna be able to break away. Mr. Savage trying to provide coverage fire. Right side peek, a little bit in his favor, but Gadu still relatively healthy in comparison to Savage.
He does have 6 different crash pads. He does have the Flowberry Fizz. But does he have the reboot cards, and does he have a chance to get them? For Tisco and Kadu, they're in a very, very similar spot, but not as drastic. Only Striker is down. So they are going to be a duo in this situation, not too far away from the overall zone. So they too, if they have that reboot card, they can immediately move on over towards Rangers Ruin to try to get that reboot back, and that's exactly what they want to do. Savage has no other choice but go the other direction towards Foxy Floodgates, which is good because now he has a chance for the reboot, but he's moving closer and closer to other teams while being almost 300 damage below the threshold.
But that's the problem. He's so low on his surge damage, and even with a successful reboot, hold that thought though, Pollo finally seeming to get a nice elimination here onto Kazi, and that kicking open the doorway. They need some kind of catalyst because they've had a very scrambly day so far.
Second time's the charm. Second time is the charm, but they're deep in the zone. Not a lot of heals. Phaser and King are both relatively low. You gotta hope they have something, but they have nothing. Phaser's gonna be the first one to drop. He is in, realize I cannot be the hero. I have to go. He has no heals either. Even though this is a one tick, he has about 50 seconds on the clock to either find elimination or find any sort of heals, bandages, anything.
Oh man, Merstash, does he realize what's behind him? But PA's in. If he gets the jump onto Merstash, that could be very problematic still. Merstash at least has Swizzy and Queasy. And a good replenish, but Merstash knows it's cooked from this point. He can't press forward any longer. Maybe there's a reboot later.
Got the down onto Merstash. I don't even know how he was the last one to do damage. PHN did not know where Merstash was, and even if he did, he wouldn't have gotten the siphon, but he had heals. Merstash being down now leaves Queasy and Swizzy with a decision. Do we go back in the zone? Do we get our teammate back up because no man left behind, or do we continue on as a duo?
Right now, all I'm thinking about is what Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino are getting up to, Jacob, because they're really starting to make a tear into this lobby. Garu, Tisco, slight pause here. They pick up Striker, bring him back into the mix. Not a whole lot of resources available for some of these teams, though, that are just hugging the outskirts right now. There's been so many hiccups across the way. But Clixie, Yamzo, and Higgs, they've still managed to find their footing on the side of the mountain face at Canyon Crossing.
Yeah, now they're positioned right next to Ginzada. That's the knock they got earlier, where they were able to kind of accumulate a good amount of surge. Now they look towards the bottom side of that mountain. Balor, Mantor, and Adapter are the ones that are taking a lot of that focus, and they're inching closer and closer to Gabzera, Scarpa, and Way as well. Canal knows and sees all the same things along with Rapid and Bolts, if he is still there. And they're all kind of targeting off the side of the mountain, just trying to take advantage of every team that's a little bit too slow to rotate.
It's just so dangerous to go for some of these half-ball edits, the window edits. You peek too long, you might find yourself getting picked off along the way. But right now, Marius, Pixie, Vanya, all they're focusing on is how to find the best success in this last lobby. Doesn't matter how you start, what matters is how you finish, and that goes for day one here at the Global Championship.
That stat was crazy. Even though they're at the top of the leaderboard, they've taken more damage than they've dealt. But that just goes to show, like, how risky they're willing to play in order to get those eliminations, in order to be able to stay alive and build up that storm surge. As I see Arc taking out Alex, Anon's going to get taken down by School. Not sure if OCE is still alive, but NA West trying to bring themselves back into this. And just by the looks of it, zone pulling so far away, Queasy, Swizzy, they realize there's no chance to get Merstash back into the game, so we have to make our numbers count.
But without Merstash, Queasy recognizes, hey, I'm going to have to shift into gear and bring to light what kind of fragging capability I might actually be able to unleash, because some of these other teams that are just doing everything in their power to try and play catch-up, you can never discredit what they might be able to accomplish. For Doxy, Gino, Pablo lurking at the very bottom of it all. They've got so much surge already. They can play fully for positioning, but Cold, Ritual, Peterbot, they are looking rough right now. They still have a good chunk of resources to actually bring their HP back up, but they're still just in such a tight position, and no one is even backing down. All day long, teams have been openly embracing the fight with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Yeah, drop spot aside, this is a game with the loot and the loadout that he has. You really have to make it count. Teddy Apko and Panzer, 678 above the damage threshold. They may not know Resigns is getting ticked by Storm Surge, but if they were close by, they could probably hear the shields crack, as Victor V is close by as well. I did see a couple of his teammates go down in the feed. I don't know if he's entirely a solo, but hey, it's Vic. Oh, well, no, that wasn't my fault, Taco. That wasn't my fault.
Okay, Ozzy.
That was Ozzy. He's doing a watch party upstairs. It's definitely Ozzy's fault.
Oh, for Noxie, though, on the other end, he's actually got a glimpse of Queasy up in the skies. Queasy having been spotted out. He knows this is trouble. We've got to start maybe working our way down. This is not the spot to be, but Gino, Pablo, Noxie, they don't care. They're looking to fully collapse. They see that Queasy is weakened, and they've actually completely overthrown the ultimate high ground position. But the fact that Queasy and Swizzy are still alive, Jacob, it's still the potential for placement points to keep building.
Yeah, this is almost looking like a full circle moment, because remember, it was Fordoxy, Pablo, and Chino the ones that even took down Mustache in the first place and put him in such a rough spot overall, and they really haven't been able to recover from it since. Take a look at some of the action going down around the lobby. Kanata just taking matters into his own hands. The first knock, that was easy. The second one somehow was easier, and now Kanata's looking to pressure that third elimination. And that's something big for them, because you can see he's all by himself, still taking pressure, still taking damage from all directions, and quickly running out of builds.
But if it resembles a shotgun, Ganada can still max it out, and that's all he's looking for. A couple of Flowberry Fizzes still left at his disposal. Seti, rather weakened, but his trio mates still way too healthy. Panzer and Yapko can just overtake that part responsibility here. Panzer now holding down the walls. Pollo, Agers, Acorn directly underneath. The elevation shifts can be brutal, but for Gino, Pablo, and Fordoxy, all above it all, they have no issues whatsoever, which is suppressing these lower teams.
This is our time right here to move up that leaderboard and hopefully maybe even get into the top 5, especially being contested by not only Tayson, but as that fight ends, so many other teams moving over in that direction as well. Marius, Pixie, and Vanya, this is one of the teams that they have to potentially go through as well. As you're seeing, Vanya get another elimination onto Mountain. That's their second one overall. 254 above the damage threshold. They're not focusing on taking any fights that they don't have to. Yamzo clicks, they both fall. Storm Surge is a huge thing that's taking them all out as the full trio's back to the lobby. Now Acorn's pressuring in. Marius sees him coming from a mile away. He goes up and over, dunking on him yet again. Now it's him versus Pollo. Zone's gonna finish the job. Marius with back-to-back eliminations.
Marius did such an excellent job at just pushing them fully back. That is a huge come up here as Agers now forced to try and see if he can bring it together. But Marius, he's just not slowing down anytime soon. Just continuing to barrel his way forward inside of the mid-ground layers. Fordoxy, Pablo, Chino with height in their control. I just don't see a way for anybody else to actually jump up towards them anytime soon. And Chino just continues.
And they even reinforced it on their way on over, patiently waiting for the zone to pull. It's going to work out in their favor for the most part. And you see Pablo right now, he's the one building their top on over because he has the double pump. Letting his teammates put pressure down from above is a huge part of their game plan. As they're 257 above, Swizzy, he has taken down Peterbot, their third elimination of the game, and they're cruising inside of the top 12. This is what I'm talking about. You cannot expect this team to just go down without a fight.
It's the boost of materials that they have to work with too. Yapko recognizing directly overhead. He doesn't have an opportunity here. Wixie on the other end of his wall. Yapko going to be forced to layer swap here. He is dropping to ultimate low, but he has hardly anything left to work with here, Jacob. Backside of zone. Anyone, it might just be Pink who comes up upon Yapko, but instead it's going to be Marius, Pixie, Vanya. Now looking to play spoiler to these teams in the mid-ground. Marius just continue to tear away at everybody's HP.
You have that double pump, and he's putting it to use. Storm is down in the outside of the zone. Marius is going to clean that one up. Couple more points. Push them further and further closer to Queasy, who's still alive, by the way. Yapko is solo. He's just trying to get the most out of this as possible. Only 5 on the med miss. No extra builds. Scrambling around, trying to catch somebody off guard, but it's he who falls to Pixie.
Chino, Pablo, and Fordoxy still in the high ground. Swizzy and Queasy now working through ultimate low. This is a night and day difference for loadouts, but Swizzy still trying to bring it all together. He only has 5 builds, but he has to take a chance to heal, and Queasy picks it up where he left off. Eliminations onto Tisco now means that Queasy has some material to work with, and Marius, he's tarping his way through, but he might just run smack down Chino overhead.
This is a good moment for all the players down low. They're distracted up above, but not too distracted. They drop down. Surprise attack coming from above. Down goes Queasy. Pixie's gonna follow as well. Vanya's now by himself. He gets taken down by Chino. Pablo, Tino, they're the only two alive for the team from high ground to low. They're trying to take the fight to Demas, and that one is gonna be solidified. And a much-needed siphon comes in just in time. A 2v1 situation, and it's Pix. He's so far out of zone, and the last medkit has already been used. A last desperation attempt to make his way into the zone, and it does not work. Prodoxy, Pablo, and Gino take the game.
They knew that they were going to need an insane performance to close out the day. It's been a bit of a scuffle here, Jacob, but finding this victory royale in the final hour of day one, that could be the ultimate difference maker, starting things off in day two. First and foremost, though, we got to see what they have to say.
Prodoxy, stand up for me, please. Cast your minds back to game one, where you were quite frankly destroyed off spawn by Tayson. But after that, you managed to turn it around. So many reboots, and finally, the victory royale. How does that feel?
I mean, after 4-2 off spawn and getting third part of every game, it feels nice to finally get to play another game out.
And for you, in those final moments as well, is the communication in a busy venue like this on LAN coming naturally? What's it like?
I mean, repeat the question, please?
I'm just asking how the comms are going.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, yeah, the MA fans are nice to have here. It's a good, it's just good vibes, yeah.
Good vibes, good vibes. Choka.
Vibe, il vient de dire, vous mettez une très bonne ambiance, le public, merci beaucoup. I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Will you manage to have lots of more victory royale? How will you do it?
Can you say it again?
How will you have more victory royale?
For us, it just depends all on the off spawn. If we win off spawn, we're gonna get a good game no matter what, basically.
S'ils gagnent tous ces contests, eh bien, ils vont tout gagner.
Gino, you've had some hero plays today. What is driving you and the team right now after some difficult starts?
I don't know, after this year in EU with my trio, I just feel like we're the best duo here and nothing can stop us.
So tomorrow, more victory royales to prove your domination.
For sure, for sure.
Well, congratulations, guys. One more time, Leon, please. Pablo, Gino, and Prodoxy! Let's head back to the desk.
Dude, we gotta give him a hand, right? I mean, come on. The final game of the day to get a victory royale in that fashion. And guys, 19 eliminations? What is happening?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It really shouldn't be allowed. I mean, you look at these guys earlier on when they won their first game off spawn, right? Obviously, Tayson came out, you know, off the block top, but then those guys won game two, and they were being so aggressive. Yeah. And I was like, okay, they're trying to make up for lost time here. I mean, this was another example of that. These guys have this ability. If you watch EU over the past 2 seasons, you'll know they have this ability. But again, to have the hubris to do this at the Global Championships, at the biggest event of the year, just shows how confident they are in their ability.
So much confidence. They were the thorn in the side of so many teams inside of this lobby, and it's exactly how we expected them to play. I think they would have been a little bit disappointed as to how the off-spawn battles have been going, especially with the third parties coming in as well. Even when they're winning, there's teams coming in, making things really, really difficult for them. But this is the Prodoxy, Pablo, and Chino that we know. We know how great they can be in these final moments, and especially for Queasy's team, right? We saw how well they did, but Pablo, Chino, and Prodoxy, not only did they W-key them to eliminate Queasy initially, they also chopped them down from height, right, and made that crazy play to make that high ground take. And wow, this is exactly what we want to see in a perfect end to day number 1 for them.
You could almost see the frustration from them, right?
Yeah.
Like, they weren't even celebrating too tough because it was like they know, and Pablo alluded to it, like, if we weren't Con, we'd be having these kind of games all the time, right? We might be a whole different type of competition had that been the case. So, you know, big ups to these guys. Hope to see them sort of find some more momentum tomorrow.
That's right. So remember, this first 6 games is about setting the stage going into tomorrow's games. Guys, I want to go to the top. Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy. I do not know how this continues to happen, right? But guys, it cannot continue to happen like this, can it?
It can.
It definitely can. I mean, looking at this, 521 points for Queasy, Swizzy, and Moustache. I mean, what I love, right? We talk about the victory royales. 3 victory royales, incredible on the day. Huge amount of eliminations. What I love, their ability to pick up the pieces, even when things don't go their way. We saw it in game number 1. They set up a hype really nicely. Everything was looking good. The zone doesn't pull their way. They said it in the interview afterwards. We got unlucky there. We'll look out for us in the next games. And what did they then go on and do? Unbelievable stuff. In that game, we saw it, of course, very, very split. Queasy going down. Then they had to try and find that reboot. And then, of course, we saw Moustache going down in the storm. The fact that Queasy and Swizzy were able to do so well in that game just shows they have everything that it takes to go all the way.
To me, that's actually the most important game. That's the game that if they go on to win the Global Championship, now you look back at that game and you say, this was it, right?
Yeah.
Because truly, a lot of people will look at a lot of their performance today and go, 11, their game plan is so straightforward, right? You know, they're sitting up in that base at the hive. It's so easy for them. A lot of other teams can't do that, right? But they have a game like that one where the game plan gets interrupted. They can't do what they've been doing the previous 5 games, and they still find a way to deliver. Again, the makings of, you know, just an absolute goated team.
It sends a message, right, to the rest of the lobby. No matter what's going to happen, even if we get into fights, they have the ability to sort of disengage, dip from the fight, find reboots, have that gameplay IQ that we know that this team can do. But now, going into day number 2, if a team's a little bit lower down, this drop spot that they have at the hive, right? They have the queen there. They have all of that great loot. We've seen it be so successful for them. Will they get landed on? I'm not too sure, but that could be a problem.
And Levin, how many points back in last Globals? How many points did Peter Bob Pollo go into day number 2 with?
Last year, after day 1, we were all sitting here going, wow, Peter Bob Pollo, man, these guys are going to go on to win the whole thing. They had about 440 points, right? These guys have 500 plus. These guys are rolling right now. I mean, 3 victory royales back to back to back. This is something we will talk about forever in Fortnite history, in the context of, one, they still have another day to just keep adding to that total, right? You know, like they can still get more and more wins, but the 3 games in a row, you know, it's just mental to me.
I mean, guys, we've got to hear from Queasy himself. Frankie is standing by right now to get his thoughts after the first 6 games.
The king of the high ground has joined me and Choco back in the player lounge. Queasy, last year it was day 2 where you had to make up the shortfall, but on day 1 you're sitting clear at the top of the leaderboard by 101 points. The question is, can you keep this up?
I hope so. I mean, I think we're going to change a lot of stuff for day 2, make sure our plans are perfect for like any sneak attempts and stuff like that, and we'll see tomorrow.
So the changes is not because the current game plan isn't working, it's because of the fact that now you know that there's a target on your back.
Yeah, I think so. But like, I mean, I feel like we're so far ahead that if people are like actually trying to land on us and do stuff like that, they're just like griefing themselves more than us. Because I don't know.
Well, we haven't seen you contested yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
We will see.
We've seen the Major 2 and Major 3.
We have, but not on LAN. Choco à toi.
And so you'll change maybe few things, but are you confident for tomorrow that you'll keep your consistency during the games?
If we play our early and mid game the same, yeah, easily.
All right, so for you, confidence is a key, or it's more training?
I mean, it's all practice. Practice makes perfect.
Looking at the lobby so far, who do you think is potentially going to be a threat, and who do you think could try and sneak attack you tomorrow?
I don't know. Half the lobby, but we'll see, I guess. I don't know. I guess going into it, I thought it was Vanya, but they're kind of like staying on low ground, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, last year they were all about the high ground, but now they'll take what they can get, and they are coming up behind you, so we'll see tomorrow. Queasy, congratulations. Let's head back to the desk to close out day 1.
You know, one of my favorite things about Queasy is the fact that, like, even when you show up on the biggest stage that there is, and you win 3 games back to back, you're still ice cold. You know, you're still just calm, cool, and collected. I feel like if that's me and I just put on that performance, I'm geeking, right? I'm freaking out. I'm excited. I'm trying to keep the emotions back, but I can't. But Queasy's like, hey, look, There's still 6 games tomorrow to go, Zeke. If I want to win this thing, I got to stay locked in.
First things first, you'll find any reason to geek out, Zeke. We know that. But most importantly, job's not finished.
Yeah.
Job finished? I don't think so. He knows that. Queasy knows that better. Queasy knows that better than anyone, right? He's had to go to the last game of Global Championships multiple times, so he will be locked and loaded. I like Frankie's line of questioning, though, because this is something we have to start talking about now.
Yeah.
If these guys keep on leading the way, are people going to start looking at the Hive? Is anybody crazy enough to decide, hey, man, we got to try catch up to first place somehow. Let's just land on them. I mean, I don't want to speak into existence, but it's always a possibility.
No, you can. Feel free.
We'd love to see it, right, as a neutral viewer, but I think for them, knowing Queasy, they would have prepped for that outcome, that possibility, right? They would have prepped every single possibility in that current off-spawn situation, so I don't think that will bring them nerves at all. I think, you know, Queasy spoke really well in that interview right there, and you need that from your IGL. I know you're saying, like, oh, I'd be going crazy, right? But, you know, you need that sort of calm force in the team, that calming nature that Queasy have is going to be so crucial. And like you said, it's all about that experience that he's had, maybe not doing so good, and maybe getting ahead of himself after day.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, ultimately we might be looking at our next global champions, and I'm okay. Queasy, you can continue to be like that. Be ice cold. Maybe we can finally get EU a title. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm Team EU, by the way. Now I've jumped ship. I'm on their side.
They're not letting you on the ship no more, man. The ship sailed. The ship is long gone.
Overboard, and it's Zeke quite quickly.
Well, Fortnite fam, that wraps up day number 1 of the Fortnite Global Championships. Tomorrow we return with 6 more games. After those 6 games, we will know who will walk away as global champions. Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll set the stage. We'll get some more games. And we'll wrap up with some incredible Fortnite action. With that being said, as always, until tomorrow, we love you, keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? This year was one of the most electrifying when it comes to NA/FNCS, with Kings returning for their crown, new first-time champions, and a rivalry like no other. Buckle up, because we're going to take you through all the NA teams you need to look out for at the Global Championship. We saw this FNCS year start off with a bang, but it was Pollo's trio who was able to edge out a close 14-point victory, qualifying for the Global Championship. While not being able to come back and take Major 1, Cold's trio still put on a show, finishing in second place, also grabbing the second spot on the Global's Battle Bus. Major 2 saw similar teams at the top, but some fresh faces as well. This time, it was Cold's trio going head-to-head with Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs. Both teams took matters into their own hands, hunting each other down throughout the tournament. Until Game 12, the fight that shocked FNCS, with both teams not making it out alive to see the end, which meant Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs would only qualify the Globals with a second place finish. Major 2 also saw the dominant likes of Rick and Curly, as well as Visuals, Braids, and Aminish clutch up to share that spot on the Battle Bus for the Global Championship. At last, Major 3, with only 2 spots left for Globals, and this being the last chance they would get to qualify, Canada's perfect record of competing in every FNCS Grand Final was on the line. With a 12-game marathon on their hands, Canada Rapid and Bulls played out of their minds. With 2 victory royales, 10 of their 12 games being inside of the top 8, and 57 eliminations, they had their spot locked in. It was the second spot on the region, however, that seemed to prove difficult. With Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx contested most of the tournament, it seemed just out of reach, until 2 out of the 3 teams in the hunt went down early in Game 12, leaving Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx to clutch up and qualify for the Global Championship. Don't let things on NA Central shadow the return of NA West. With returning legends, new faces, and 3 spots for the Global Championship, things heated up quickly. Major 1 saw Baka and Pars return to their home region and team up with Punk. Quickly, this team emerged as the team to beat on the region, and for all the right reasons. Led by Pars, as the IGL, they quickly claimed the top spot on the map, Prime City, and looked to take hype every game. This is how they were able to win a whopping 6 out of 12 games to take the win by 160 points. Major 2, however, saw a new face emerge as a challenger. Teaming up with School and Salvo, Arc became one of the top players to beat on the region, with some looking at him as the best player in NA West. After failing to qualify for the FNCS Major 2 Grand Finals through group stages, they had their backs up against the wall with the last chance qualifier. Dominating and winning a game never looked so easy as they claimed their spot in finals. But they didn't want to just take part in Major 2 finals, they wanted to take over. With 98 eliminations and 1 victory royale, they took the Blade of Champions by force with a 150-point lead. With only 1 spot left up for grabs and only 1 major left on the year, it was all or nothing. This led for only one thing to happen: the return of Paper. Teaming with his Global Championship qualifying duo from last year and the 6-time FNCS champion Epicwell, it was truly all or nothing. A hard-fought day 1 from Utopia City had them in the lead of Miro, Thoric, and Phoenix by a mere 5 points, which was anything but comfortable. Day 2 was not that much easier. From uncontested to triple contested, they were forced to change their drop spot to Crime City, thinking that would be enough. Wrong. They ended up moving to 4 different drop spots on day 2. However, even with things not going according to their plan, they had the perfect mix of experience, firepower, and teamwork to qualify for the Global Championship. With NA this year looking like a perfect series of movies, it can only end with an epic battle. The Global Championship is closing in, and only one team will end on top. But the question is who? Find out by tuning into the Global Championship if an NA team will reign supreme.
Europe's always been associated with prestige, but now it's time for EU to prove where they truly stand by taking the throne back from North America at the 2025 Global Championship. Let's